Welcome back to Donington Park, everybody, for our second of three races this weekend in the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. Their first race yesterday won fairly convincingly in the end by Hayden Chance, and that, we believe, according to the official social media channels, was enough to claim him the championship. So he'll now be hoping just to try and end his season in style within the SR3s with the final two races of the season. But with some good racing yesterday, and we're expecting more of the same in this one. Hayden Chance then will have the pole position. James Lay will start alongside him. Then it was Chris Breen and Ben Casely on the second row of the grid. Jason Rishover and Tommy Gore will share row 3 ahead of David Sven Thompson and Andy Lowe in the fourth row. Row 5 then for John McLeod and Mark Williams. He was at the centre of some of the action yesterday, whilst Pete Tyler will line up next alongside Gavin McAlpine. Then it's Chris Headlam and Jack Yang. They will be on row 7 together, and the 8th row of the grid for John Davis and Jacek Zalonka, who was involved in a slightly bizarre incident, wasn't he, behind the safety car in the race yesterday with James Lay. And it's James Lay, of course, who's wrapped up the championship, not Hayden Chance. Then we get to the SR1s, Theo McCurris and Tom Wood starting on the front row of that grid with Shane Stoney and Christian Brooks row 2. Stoney had a poor start yesterday but bounced back quite nicely to get onto the podium. Then it's James Ockenden and Jack Lees on the third row of the SR1 grid ahead of George Nutton and Michael Williams, with Bradley Gaunt, Darren Nutton, Ashley Gaunt and Oscar Joyce completing the SR1 grid. So yeah, James Lay it was, my apologies, who had the really good result yesterday. He managed to just about score enough in 7th position, we think. Very, very happy he will be after that slightly bizarre contact that he had coming to a safety car period as they came across the start-finish line. Contact with Jacek Zalonka, who was later disqualified from the race for that little bit of contact that they had. A bit of a miscommunication coming to the safety car. Within the SR1 brigade, that was a victory for Theo McCurris with Tom Wood coming home a little bit further down the order than he would have liked. Shane Stoney ending up second within the SR1 class, and Jack Lees claiming third position. So some more good racing expected in this one. Piers Pryor here with me in the commentary box to talk through the action. Ambient temperature, the graphic tells us, is 20 degrees, but it's pretty chilly out there, Piers, and that means the drivers will have to be careful here on cold tyres. Yeah, that is that 24km/h east-northeasterly wind which is whipping through, which makes it feel less than 20 degrees, but the wind will affect these Radical SR3s and SR1s slightly more than some of the other cars racing here this weekend with the big wings and flat sides. These are very, very fast cars that rely heavily on downforce, and that's why they achieve such fast lap times. That you can see James Lay on the left-hand side, closest on shot. Number 1, our champion this year, trying to finish off the season in style. Yes, he is. This the second of 3 30-minute races this weekend. Then what's going to happen as they rush towards Redgate Corner? Well, it's a good start made by Chris Breen there up the inside of everybody. James Lay goes to the outside. It was actually a poor start from Hayden Chance, wasn't it? Lay will get the advantage. Who's that diving into second place? Ben Casely. Oh, it is Casely. A couple of them slipping wide into the gravel. Cold tyres, cold brakes, catching a few of them out as they head through Redgate Corner. That car hopefully should dig its way back out into the fray, but a very jumbled up run through the first turn. Yeah, it was a poor start from the front row of the grid from Hayden Chance, as we're now having a look at the SR1s with McCurris on the front row alongside Tom Wood, who didn't finish yesterday's race, but it is 1-2 at the moment. It is McCurris from Wood, while it's 3 wide for third place. Wood looks outside. Oh. No, can't get it done this time. Is there going to be any contact further down the field? It looks very, very close. People going right up to the gravel, but not coming off the circuit just this time. Luckily, everyone so far making it through the first couple of corners in both the SR3s and the SR1s. Tom Wood. Oh no! I spoke too soon! What have you done, Piers? And there's cars stopped from the circuit, so hopefully the SR1s will get the double wave yellows and behave accordingly, because that is right on the racing line, the number 34. Yeah, I think that's David Sven Thompson, isn't it, on the racing line. Another car in the gravel pointing towards us. It's the next corner that the SR1s are going to arrive at. There will, of course, be double wave yellow flags out on the marshal's post. Let's hope the drivers are paying attention. It's a blind crest through the right-hander. Safety car unsurprisingly being scrambled, and yes, they've all managed to get through. Thank
goodness for that. That is a completely blind turn in these very low radical cars. You go up a crest and turn in blind. You can't see the corner. You have to commit to the racing line before you can see it, which could have been a dangerous situation. The number 23 is the one that has come off worst in that and stuck in the gravel.
Yes, that's Jason Rishover, who started 5th, and David Sven Thompson, who started 7th. Those are the two who seem to have tangled there.
Yeah, likely that Rishover, who was on the outside, is probably on the outside and got nudged off the road, and then maybe a spin on the inside for, who was on the inside?
Sven Thompson.
Sven Thompson, yes, that's it. So unfortunate, 2 of the SR3s coming to blows. I think there was a 3rd car that was involved that's carried on.
Yes.
So that's probably joining at the back of the field. Let's have a look who is at the back of the SR3 field over the line. That'll be Lowe. Is that where he was? Yeah, Andy Lowe is probably involved in something in there as well.
Yeah, well, he started 8th, Sven Thompson was 7th, and Rishover was 5th.
So there was clearly some sort of 2 or 3-way ding-dong through Coppice there, which meant they've all come to blows. But Lowe is continuing on as far as we can see. Let's have a look at the back shot. Can we see if Lowe is there? We'll cut back to that in a moment, but a great start from, is that Ben Casey in second place over the line? I think it is, yes.
Yes.
So safety car period. We saw a couple of safety cars yesterday. Hayden Chance has got a very different situation he had yesterday. 2 safety cars in the race we had yesterday. He did excellent safety car restarts from pole position in both of those, or from first place, should I say. This time, having to come from 5th place, but will he get a good restart? James Lay back where he's sort of most used to in this season, and with a lot of wins this season in this Hagerty Radical Championship in the SR3 class. Champion. He was pushed very hard at the first half of the season by Velo Racing's Daryl De Leon before he moved on to pastures new, but that left James Lay kind of with a bit of a gap at the front of the field. De Leon, I still think is in the top 3 or 4 in the championship.
Yes.
Considering he hasn't done the last few rounds, is quite impressive and showing how dominant those two were at the start of the season.
Yeah, Daryl, moving on to pastures new, a pretty excellent opportunity he's been given to go and race in the British Touring Car Championship for the second half of the season. Yes, still 3rd in points coming into the weekend, although he's likely now dropped behind Chris Preen, who finished 5th yesterday. But yeah, fantastic news for Daryl. We wish him the very best of luck. Shame not to have him on the grid. He was a very, very competitive driver indeed. But yeah, James Lay, regular race winner this season, looking to try and round his season out maybe with a couple more wins here at Donington. The other driver within the SR3s who was delayed on that first lap was John McLeod, and again he was in that kind of mid-grid bunch. Now remember, we did have some drama at the first corner. I think it might have been John who went off at Redgate, and then Andy Lowe, who was delayed up at Coppice, could be the other way round, but one of those cars I think delayed at the very first turn of the race.
Yes, there was of course that one car that went through the gravel on the exit of Redgate on lap 1, but managed to continue on, which is good to see. The good thing about these cars is, as much as they're so flat underneath and you can get beat, if you can keep them moving, you can kind of just skate your way across the gravel most of the time. Especially here at Donington, the gravel isn't too deep at the exit of Redgate. Places like, I remember Rockingham used to have gravel that was about a foot deep.
Yes.
And if you went off, there was no chance of starting. Are we going to go green this time? Doesn't look like we are, no. Not this time by, so hopefully we can get green next time if the cars have been retrieved from the Coppice where they were stranded.
Yeah, I think as far as I know it is 2 cars that need retrieving, because I don't think Rishover or Thompson got going. No, they didn't, so there are the 2 cars to be removed from dangerous positions, one more dangerous than the other, definitely. This does mean that the SR1s close in on the SR3s. We had an early safety car yesterday that had the same effect. You can see there it is the number 74 with Theo Mercouris who leads that class. Tom Wood second, but Tom was really looking to try and get past him in the opening few corners, going for every little gap that he could find, and he had to settle in line behind in the end in second place. They also have the 55 of James Ockenden. Ockenden started 5th, and he's moved up into 3rd place, which means, Piers, for the second race in a row, Shane Stoney not getting a great start. Started 3rd, down to 5th. He recovered well yesterday and has to do it again now in race 2.
Well, he's going to be well practiced at it by the end of this weekend, I suppose. But it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers have worked their tyres, because it was only one real racing lap, wasn't it? So not full temperature by any stretch of the imagination for these drivers. The Zoom Boom removing the Rishover car from the gravel in the front of shot there. Hopefully that can get out of the... well, they'll be able to remove that from the circuit quickly enough. We can go racing and get as much of this race... Well, there's 23 minutes remaining, so that'll probably be about 22 and a half by the time we get to start-finish, maybe. That would be good to go racing, because there's still a decent amount of the race to go. But Drivers weaving around, they'll be braking, accelerating, trying to keep as much temperature in the tyres as possible, and the drivers that do that best will definitely have an advantage at the start of this second phase of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see how vigorously you have to weave the car. There was someone, I forget who it was now, who came out with this quote a number of years ago, who said that you really should almost make yourself feel seasick, the amount that you're weaving from side to side. You don't just sort of wander around the road, do you? You've really got to work that front axle.
It's all about getting as much load and energy through the tyres as possible, and normally you achieve that not under safety car conditions by driving faster. But you can't do that because, of course, safety car, you can only travel at the speed that the car in front of you is going and the light's going out. But you really do feel seasick. I remember doing it back when I raced in single-seaters, and if you're under safety car for more than a couple of laps, you start to feel a bit queasy, and you just stop for a second just to catch your breath. Anyway, James Lay now stopping his weaving so that he can concentrate on getting the best race start possible. The SR1's dropping off the back ever so slightly to give themselves a bit of space. I think it's probably a wise thing to do.
Yeah, because it was the SR3s who were the messier of the two classes at the initial start of the race, but they'll be single file this time, and it is, as Pierce quite rightly says, James Lay who steps on the loud pedal just before they get into the entry to Goddard's, But Ben Casely goes with him. Third place then for Tommy Gore. Fourth is Chris Preen, and the pole sitter Hayden Chance, and yesterday's winner down to fifth position with work to be done. Across the line they go, and down towards Redgate Corner, where James Lay already has a few car lengths advantage over his nearest pursuer.
Not such a good safety car start for Hayden Chance today, starting further down the field. He's got a bit of a gap off the back of Preen in fourth place, whereas yesterday he did two excellent restarts, kind of mirroring what James Lay is doing right now.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, we had two safety cars in yesterday's race, and Hayden Chance managed them both beautifully. He's already starting to close back in on Chris Preen, though, as they battle over fourth place, heading through Starkeys and up towards Schwann's Curve. James Lay has gone already, though. Look, half a second up at the line. That's got to be nearly a second now, as they turn their way through McLean's Corner for the first time in anger since the restart. Hayden Chance all over the back, though, of Chris Preen as they head through Coppice.
Oh, yes, sorry, I was getting Chris Preen and Hayden Chance mixed up. Am I getting...
Hayden is the red one, I think.
Yes, I'm getting Chris Preen and Hayden mixed up, so it was Chris Preen that got the poor safety car restart. Apologies, Hayden. No, your restart was great. Chris just slightly dropping off the back of the cars in front, and Hayden now applying a lot of pressure to the back of Chris Preen.
Yes, he is. Down the hill we come then towards the Melbourne Loop for the fourth time in the race, and it is James Lay with an advantage over Ben Casely in second place. Tommy Gore then in third, who appears to be racing under a Jamaican flag in this championship, makes his way up into Goddard's in third position. Chris Preen fourth, Hayden Chance fifth. Sixth position looks still to be Peter Tyler. And then he's a little way back looking the yellow and white car with the black and orange and Mark Williams behind. Then it's Headlam, Zalonka and Davis in the SR1s. Is it still Theo Mercuris? I wonder who leads. I think it probably is, but Tom Wood, I'm sure, is asking some questions of him.
Yeah, Tom Wood pushed Theo Mercuris very close.
They're side by side, I think, aren't they? Here they come, look. Tom Wood round the outside into Redgate Corner.
Yes, they are. So Tom Wood trying to squeeze Mercuris down to the inside. Mercuris not having any of it, braking much later, but can he get it stopped? Because it looks like Tom Wood's managed to cut underneath and has an overlap going down through Hollywood, which will put him on the inside for the old hairpin should they make it that far in third place. That is Ockenden trying to get involved, and Ockenden's made his way through Wood, and it's trying to go past. He's got past Mercuris.
That is Mercuris,
yeah. So Ockenden's got his way past Mercuris and nearly got through into the lead of the race, but now Tom Wood's got a bit of a gap as these two continue to fight for second place. That was a great opportunist manoeuvre from Ockenden.
Yeah, 3 wide through the crater curves in Radical Racing is not easy to do. That was really impressive, that from James Ockenden, to break into second place. So Theo Mercuris loses the lead and loses second position, with Tom Wood getting himself into the class lead. He looks like he's got good pace early on. He was really racy at the initial start of the race, even racier on the restart. He's hit the front, and let's see now whether or not he can pull away.
Yes, exactly. He'll be looking to make amends for yesterday. Oh, that's a spin for number 88.
That's Zalonka.
Yeah, Zalonka. So he's a bit of the wars this weekend, but he's going to have to wait for hopefully the SR1 field to move through. Oh, got on with it quickly enough, which is good driving because he should probably be fast in these SR1s. But the fighting continues on. Tom Wood is almost going to get held up by the trailing drivers at the back of the SR3 field.
That is Gavin McAlpine and John Davis going side by side. Around the outside goes McAlpine to gain a place.
Yeah, and also Wood looking around the outside and doesn't get that done. That's going to leave him slow out of the last corner. He's going to be frustrated with this because he's just got a gap to the drivers in front. And meanwhile, at the front of the field, fastest lap set by our race leader James Lay after a purple and also setting a purple first sector on this lap as well.
Only a 10.5 quicker than Kaisley, though, in fairness. So Kaisley doing his best to go in, and they're both cleared off now. 2.5 seconds further back to Tommy Gore in third place. We are focusing though on the SR1 class leaders as they drop down through the crater curves. And Tom Wood, this is why they wanted to leave a gap back to the SR3s, or up to the SR3s on the restart, because the quicker SR1s are actually faster than some of the stragglers in the SR3 class, and Tom Wood is really now in a difficult position.
Yeah, the cars are very similar, but you can see the difference between the 3s and the 1s. The SR3s have the orange wing tips on the rear wings. The SR3s have the orange wing tips. The SR3s have the green wing tips and are slightly smaller and a bit narrower. We're looking at that battle in the top 3 for the SR1s right now. Tom Wood in the sort of grey and yellow car with a yellow nose, closely followed by Ockenden in the purple and white car, and then Theo Makuris in the black and green car behind the Weir Tools sponsored car.
This is a good battle, isn't it? It's being helped a little bit, I think, by the SR3s getting in the way, but they are perfectly entitled to stand their ground. They are the cars in the quicker class after all, but Tom Wood clearly better under braking, throws it up the inside.
Oh, contact.
The SR3 see him coming.
There was contact. I saw the cars bounce, and it looks like, yeah, there was definitely contact in a bit. Tom Wood needed to do that because he knows that if he can put the SR3 between himself and the SR1, it's going to give a massive advantage. And now Ockenden and Makuris found their way through as well.
That's John Davis in the number 8 car doing his best to stay out of the way, but that's easier said than done. And of course, he's got quite a straight line speed advantage over these SR1s, so might now start to come back at them down the pit straight. Now, I think he's sort of realised that's not really his battle to be getting involved in. So the top 3 SR1s break through past John Davis in the number 8 SR3, but that going through one corner earlier for Tom Wood made a big difference. He's built a nice little cushion now over Ockenden in second.
Yeah, Ockenden's going to have to work hard to close that down as we now have a fight for 5th place. Oh no, 4th place, I think, because I'm getting confused with the SR3. 4th place, that was that will have been
Stoney, I think.
Yeah, Stoney making his way past Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shane Stoney up into 4th place in the class now. He said he was well practiced in overtaking, and that was a good move. The old hairpin is a place that, again, you look at it on a map and you wouldn't necessarily think that it's a place where you'd see a lot of overtaking, especially in high downforce cars like these, but you get that run through the crane as you commit to the inside line. It's a really satisfying place to make an overtake.
Yeah, it's kind of high risk but high reward, because it's also one of the overtaking opportunities where if you do make a move, it's very hard for the driver behind to pounce straight back because they're offline on the exit of the old hairpin, which means they're unlikely to be able to fight back up towards McLean's.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we see a lot of side-by-side action through there. Likewise down here at the Melbourne hairpin, where the 3rd place man now, Theo Makuris, looks to try and find a way back ahead of James Ockenden. Ockenden in yesterday's race was 4th in the in the SR1 class, so he's definitely doing better today than yesterday. Cut back though towards the sharp end of the field, where we've had a few changes, have we? Chris Preen's been overtaken by Hayden Chance. I don't think we saw that on screen, and Hayden now setting off after Tommy Gore in 3rd.
Yeah, no, he's got past him. Yeah, I think Hayden Chance passed Tommy Gore by the looks of it, which means that he must have done it on this lap. Yeah, he has, definitely.
Well spotted.
So it must have been potentially a mistake at the first corner. We didn't see it, but it just seems like quite a big gap, because over the line, the gap between them was... Let's have a quick look. So Chance was only 3 tenths behind Gore, to be fair, so that must have been a move into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's well spotted. 2 similarly liveried cars, and Hayden Chance is the first of those 2. So now we'll see what his pace is unleashed into clean air. Well, a personal best sector 1, a purple outright fastest sector 2, about 4 tenths quicker than the race leader.
And we saw yesterday Hayden's pace in that car was savage. He was, I think, fastest lap was 1.2 seconds faster than the next fastest driver, I believe, wasn't it?
He did a 30.3, and yeah, the next best that I can see is about a 31.5, so yeah, 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, and that is a pretty hefty margin. Potentially James Lay had some damage after the contact under the safety car, we don't know, so that might have helped him a little bit, but that last up a 30.6 from Hayden Chance. That is a good 6 tenths faster than our race leader James Lay, so clearly that Valor Racing Radical in the hands of Hayden Chance has got some serious pace around this Donington Park race circuit.
And there was an overtake in that first sector. He's gone fractionally quicker than Lay in the first sector of this lap. Lay did initially have the purple first sector, but Chance snatches it straight back again, getting news of a penalty meanwhile for John Davis, a 5-second penalty to add to his woes. He's already been overtaken by half the SR1 grid, and now he's having 5 seconds added to his time as well. Yeah.
Our leader and championship winner, James Lay at the front of the field, of course, romping away. He races for Raw Motorsport, and it's a quite good team rivalry between those two at the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely so. Right, middle sector coming in for Hayden Chance. He is half second quicker than James Lay in the middle sector. Ooh. And about 0.6 better than Kaysley. Kaysley's definitely catchable here, isn't he? With 13.5 minutes to go, Hayden Chance can definitely get back to second place. Can he catch James Lay? He's got the pace to. It all depends, I think, on how long he spends behind Kaysley.
Yes, that is going to be the thing, and it's how well he can get past Kaysley, where he gets past Kaysley, if Kaysley's going to defend, because Kaysley saw the pace, or will have seen the pace of Hayden Chance yesterday. If he sees him rump up to the back of him, he might think, you know what, this is a fight not worth fighting.
Race leader does a 31.3, Kaysley a 31.8, Chance a 30.8, a full second quicker than Kaysley. So
30.6.
Yes, you're
30.6,
right.
30.6, so even a whole 1.1 seconds faster than Kaysley in second place.
Yeah, so at this rate, he'll be with Kaysley by the end of the lap, won't he? So Hayden Chance is going to be on the tail of him with 11.5 minutes to go. If he can pass him within a lap, that gives him 10 minutes to try and chase after James Lay out in front. It's a tall order, but he's not going to go down without a fight.
Assuming it is 10 minutes, 4.5 seconds, well, I say it's 4 seconds, that's 2.5 tenths a minute, which then makes it 3 or 4 tenths a lap, which is definitely doable at the pace he's going at the moment.
Absolutely so. Theo Mercouris here, back ahead now of James Ockenden, so that puts him back into second place within the SR1 class. Mercouris is 2.7 seconds adrift, though, of the class leader Tom Wood, who is at the wheel of the number 20 car. So Tom Wood, who's now found himself in a nice little empty bit of track, he's 5 seconds behind the Jack Yang car up the road. And is 2.7 seconds clear of Mercouris in second place, but Theo already now breaking away from Ockenden.
Yeah, I think there was a decisive move for Tom Wood at the front of the field, as you can see, Mercouris sliding his way through McLean's corner there. It was a decisive move up the inside of the SR3 into the Melbourne hairpin that we saw a few laps ago, because that just gave him that little bit of gap while the other two had to fight their way through the SR3 into the last corner, which allowed it to break away and out of the slipstream.
Now, Hayden Chance, not quite a fastest lap, because I think he caught Kaysley in the final sector. He was on course for a fastest lap, but he's within half a second now of the second place man, and there they are. No, that's not them. That is Gore, actually, battling away with Chris Preen. Chris Preen trying to get fourth place away, couldn't do it at Redgate Corner, tries to have another stab as they head down the Crater Coast. You don't know where to look, do you? Great battles going in the SR3s. Here is the SR1 battle going on between Shane Stoney, meanwhile, and Jack Lees. Stoney passed Lees a few laps ago, but can't escape from him.
Not quite this time, and we got further battling, and that is now Ockenden holding off the SR3 that they got past a few laps ago.
Yes, it is. So that's Davis. John Davis trying to come back. Remember, he's got that 5-second penalty to be applied, we believe, for exceeding track limits. I'd love to see what's going on between Kaysley and Chance, though, for second position. Has Hayden managed to find a way through? This could be so decisive in whether or not he's going to have a chance to chase down the race leader.
Yeah, the gap at the front, it was now nearly 5 seconds, so that's coming down to like... that was extending between Kaysley, but the gap between Chance and Lay has stayed pretty much stationary at about five or so seconds. So that's going to be a tall order, no matter how fast Chance is. So it's going to be a tall order for him to close that gap down, but it'd be good to see him try at least.
Tom Wood there wriggles his way through McLean's. You can really see the way that the SR1s move around a lot more. They look a bit softer, the rear a lot looser than the SR3s. Very different driving style required, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I believe they still... the SR1s race on a cut slick or a treaded or road style tyre, whereas the SR3s are on a full slick, I believe. That is what it used to be. And then we got a move, Kaysley defending from Hayden Chance. Hayden Chance going very wide on the exit turn 1, so being shown no space whatsoever on the outside. I think that was probably fair of Ben Kaysley. He was far enough ahead that I don't think Hayden was entitled to the road at that point. Hayden sort of just was driving into a space that was always going to disappear. Didn't have enough of an overlap.
Yeah, risky manoeuvre, and Kaysley always likely to show him the edge of the road. But look at the time they're losing, 7.5 seconds now off the race leader. So I think second place is likely as good as it will get here for Hayden, but he wants to try and get through if he can as quickly as possible. Up the hill towards Coppice Corner, try and get a good exit. You can see he's riding that curb on the way in, widening the entry point, trying to get on the power as soon as he can off the turn. a bit of a slipstream now down the exhibition straight, but you're not really going to overtake someone into the Fogarty S's in the same way that we've seen in the Sevens this weekend, for example. So instead, focus on getting a good exit and maybe Piers try and make a move into Melbourne. Yeah,
exactly. Melbourne is probably the only opportunity as Hayden darts to the inside and forces Casely to look left and then look right in his mirrors. Casey still looking in his mirrors to the middle of the corner. That might hurt his exit. You could see the car squirreling around, and now Hayden Chance very close to the final corner. Can he go up the inside? No, not this time. He's looking outside. This is all about a setting up for a good exit. Great drive from Ben Casey, just stopping it on the apex and forcing Chance to have to lift out, which has then given him a great gap. That's very, very good racecraft from Casely there. Yeah, really killed Chance's momentum there, out onto the pit straight. Behind them, look, Chris Preen is back up alongside Gore now as they head towards the Redgate corner. Tommy Gore on the inside line, Preen trying round the outside. There's just no grip out there, is there? All of the dirt and debris and rubber gets thrown to the outside edge. He's still got the momentum though, and actually has his nose ahead, heading into the Craner curves, and Chris Preen does get into 4th place. Great move. What a great move from Chris Preen around the outside. We both thought of the apex. No, he's not done that, but the exit was good enough. He got the traction down, used all of the road, and we're battling still for 2nd place. Hayden Chance looking for a cutback once again. This is the closest he's been at this section of the circuit, and we've got an SR1 that could potentially get involved in this fight as well. Yeah, not sure who that is. It might be the number 11 of Darren Nutton, maybe, who's about to go a lap down. He stays out of the way. I think it is the number 11 car, isn't it? Well, he tries to stay out of the way, but actually the SR3s hadn't caught him yet, and this is surely going to delay Ben Casely. He catches the back marker right as they turn into the chicane. Look at the extra momentum that gives to Hayden Chance, but is there going to be a gap on the inside? Maybe, just about. No, couldn't commit to the manoeuvre. Casely's late. Casey's far too late. They both missed the corner, but through goes Hayden Chance in the SR1, thinking, hang on a second, you guys going the wrong way. Wow, fantastic. Hayden takes his chance, moves into 2nd position then after the mistake from Ben Casely. They were both over the edge though, as you quite rightly said, into the Melbourne hairpin. Now, can Casely fight back? He throws everything at it off the final corner, but I think probably Hayden Chance is gone now. Yeah, Hayden Chance is probably gone. The pace over Casely, I think we've seen on the previous laps, will mean that he drives away, but it was entertaining racing going into the Melbourne hairpin. They were so narrow that I could see as soon as they were going that narrow and they braked, I was like, they're not going to make the corner, because not only are you having to turn that much tighter, but there's so little rubber all the way on the inside there that you're only going to have less grip as well, and they both missed the corner. The only difference was Hayden missed it by slightly less. Yeah, and of course Casely, as the lead car there, he probably knew that he wanted to brake a bit earlier than normal, but you must be scared that the car behind is going to rear end you, so you sort of get goaded into braking that little bit later, so definitely an advantage in that situation to be the chasing car. Yeah, slightly. You are a little bit worried that the car behind is going to run into you, but ultimately you have to brake when you have to brake, so that time I think Casely just a bit of an issue, probably one eye on the mirror, not realising quite how narrow he was having to go, and easy to miss your braking point because all of your references are gone as well. A lot of these drivers will use the boards on the left-hand side of the circuit or the curb as their reference point, and if you're on the rail on the right-hand side, very difficult to judge the speed you need to take into the corner, but as we expected, Casely is not able to match Chance on this lap, although saying that, the middle sector, no actually, Chance is faster in every single sector this lap so far, despite Casely being in the tow. That is Shane Stoney up the inside, I think, of James Ockenden, isn't it? Yeah, for the 3rd place within the SR1 class. He was momentarily there because they were separated by John Davis in the SR3 at the start of the lap, but Davis has managed to get through, and Stoney follows him down the old hairpin. Good move from what we saw of it. Yeah, it was a good move. It looks like Ockenden struggling a little bit in this latter stage of the race because he was right up with McCurris and Wood at the first. Oh no, he's gone wide. He's gone wide, and he's going through the gravel, and he's going to collect a lot of grass. Might have to come into the pits for to clear out the radiator, although there's only 4 minutes remaining, so he could be okay. But that is, yeah, I was mentioning he's falling down the order. Don't know whether he's got an issue which is compounded by that mistake, or whether it caused the mistake. Well, you mentioned that the SR1s run on a cut slick, so they may be a bit more prone to overheating. If you're sliding around a bit too much, maybe the tread starts to move around, and perhaps he's just run out of tyre grip towards the end of the race. Running out of braking abilities a little bit there was Ashley Gaunt in the number 78 car, nearly rear ends the 87 just ahead of him of Jack Leese. Jack Leese was on the podium in the SR1 class yesterday, but he's a bit further down the order in race number 2. Yeah, a treaded tyre that the SR1s run on, number 22, off at turn 1. That is Andy Lowe. Where was Andy Lowe running? Because he was 6th yesterday. He was 10th
at the time of that moment, but he might have lost a position or so.
Yeah, I reckon he's lost a position to at least Yannick Zalonka, who was right behind him over the line. So and McAlpine was 17 seconds back, so probably only the one place lost. But just mentioning that the SR1s running on a cut tyre, the cars will move around a lot more just due to that. But they're not a huge amount slower than the SR3s if you put them on the same tyre. But it's a good thing that the SR1s, you know, it's something a bit different. It makes the drivers learn the car control in these higher, faster cars. And also, I think it keeps costs down, because I believe they're on the same tyre in the wet and the dry.
Oh, okay.
I believe so.
That's good. Yeah, it means that you don't have to have wet tyres that you may never use if you're lucky. I mean, not necessarily in the UK that likely to go a full season without using wet tyres, but yeah, it means that you don't have to spend the extra cash on that. New fastest lap of the race, by the way, for Hayden Chance. He might not be realistically in with a chance of catching the race leader now, but he was with a 1 minute 30.530, about 6 tenths quicker than the leader that time. Yesterday he did a 30.3, so he's a couple of tenths off that at the moment. We are deeper into the race. The tyres perhaps a little past their best, but it's not stopping him, and he's just done another purple first sector.
He's not holding back whatsoever. His middle sector not quite so good. It's a couple of tenths off his best, but still pushing on hard to try and close that gap as much as possible. Has come down. The last lap, as you mentioned, was about 6 tenths faster than Lay, our leader, but the gap was nearly 10 seconds over the line, and with only 2 minutes remain, or 2.5 minutes remaining, I think, barring a disastrous issue for Lay, either driving or mechanical wise, it is going to be a James Lay win, as we can see going very narrow and the car shuddering down to a stop into the Melbourne hairpin was the number. Couldn't quite catch the number. It's the orange fronted car there.
I think it's Tommy Gore, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is Tommy Gore, who's fending off Mark Williams and Peter Tyler as they round Goddard's. So that's for 5th place overall within the SR3 category. Some of the SR1s here making their way through McLean's. That field is very much spread out in the second half of the race, really, certainly after Ockenden's off at Coppice.
Say that, but over the line it was only 7 tenths between Mercouris and Wood.
Yeah, good, well spotted actually. Yeah, that comes 2 seconds at one point. So Liam Mercouris coming back at Tom Wood. That's the battle to watch out for then. That is for the lead and the victory, therefore, in the SR1s. This is going on a bit further behind them, isn't it, the number 78 car, but where are the class leaders? They must be heading down onto the Melbourne Loop, and they're going to have probably 2 laps after this one, I'd have thought, because they're some way adrift of the SR3 leaders, who probably haven't yet started their final lap. Yeah,
we're watching a battle between Gaunt and Lees for 22nd and 21st place respectively overall, and we're now catching on with Oxford Joyce, but this battle's still going on, so battles throughout the field, which is it's great to see that there's battles no matter where you are on the grid, with all these cars being so evenly matched, identical machinery pretty much in each of the classes.
Yeah. Towards Goddard's corner they will go then. There is Tom Wood at Redgate, and there is Theo Mercouris, so the gap came down again surely on that lap. Yes, 6.5 tenths, about a tenth gained by Mercouris, but he's maybe now starting to pick up a bit of that turbulent air from the back of Tom Wood's car. It will affect the SR1s slightly less than the SR3s, but that might now just be enough to keep Mercouris at arm's length. These two have about a lap and a half of racing to go though, and Theo is going to keep on pushing until the flag.
Yeah, Theo will push on because he can see his nearest rival in championship, even though he's clinched the championship, is very close behind, and they're fully pushing through there. You can see the cars moving around again on those treaded tyres, and it's something unique. You don't often get such a fast and high downforce car on a treaded tyre, but it's kind of unique and great to watch as well, the car control of these drivers, because on a slick tyre generally the yaw angle and the amount you slide is much less to get the most out of the car.
Mark Williams here coming out of Redgate corner, Peter Tyler right on his tail, but they've dropped away now from Tommy Gore, so you have to assume these two have started battling between themselves a bit more and allowed Tommy to maybe make 5th place his own. They're on the final lap now of our second race of the weekend in the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. Up through Schwantz Curve they go, and Mark Williams trying now just to fend off Peter Tyler behind him. Through McLean's towards Coppice they go once again, down towards the Melbourne Loop comes some of the SR1s. In amongst them is James Lay. James Lay there pulling to the outside of the number 87 car of Jack Lees as they go around the Melbourne hairpin, and James Lay is going to claim a race victory. A bit of a disaster yesterday by his extremely high standards, but in race number 2 he bounces back nicely, comes through the final turn, and he will see the checkered flag, not for the first time this season it must be said. Across the line he goes, James Lay victorious here at Donington Park, but what a charge it was from Hayden Chance after a poor opening lap to bounce back to 2nd place and take the fastest lap again at 1:30.530, about 4 or 3/10, sorry, quicker than James Leigh could manage. Third place will go to Ben Caisley. Fourth, Chris Breen. Fifth for Tommy Gore. Mark Williams comes home in sixth, ahead of Peter Tyler in seventh place. Now, what's going on with the SR1s as they cross the line to start the final lap? It was 6.5 tenths between Tom Wood and Theo Mercurius. I think I can see them going down the back straight, actually, in the background towards the chicane. It looked as though it was still Wood in front, but maybe by a reduced margin. Through comes the number 11 car there, which is a little bit further down the order. But what's going on with the SR1s? Here they come. Tom Wood is still ahead, but Theo Mercurius not quite close enough into the hairpin, but Wood has outbraked himself slightly, just gets it into the late apex, manages to cover the position, and as they head towards the final turn, I think he's had a good enough exit from Melbourne that he shouldn't be under threat into Goddard's. Tom Wood has, well, had to work hard for this one, pulled a nice gap at the start, was reeled in by Theo Mercurius through the second half of the race, but they come across the timing line with Tom Wood victorious by just 3.5 tenths of a second. A brilliant battle, and Theo Mercurius, I'm sure, enjoyed his part in that as well. Maybe not quite as much as Tom Wood did, as he comes home with another class victory. Brilliantly done that by Tom Wood. Remember, those are the top two in the championship. Mercurius, if he hadn't already wrapped up the title in the Hart GT with Raw Motorsports car, then that second place, almost certainly now, has netted him enough points to claim the championship. We'll get confirmation of that if we can before race number 3 later on, which is of course the pit stop race. There's a mandatory pit stop in the middle of that one, and that adds a whole extra dimension to what is already a very exciting championship. So James Leigh victorious then. Hayden Chance has to settle for second position, third for Ben Caisley, and fourth for Chris Preen, with Tommy Gore in fifth. Mark Williams sixth, fends off Peter Tyler to the flag. Eighth place then for John McLeod after his lap 1 excursion. Then it was Jacek Zelonka in ninth, and the top 10 completed by Chris Headlam. 11th position then went the way of Gavin McAlpine in the number 17 car. Then it was Jack Yang in 12th. 13th in the end for the SR1 class winner Tom Wood, who only just by a couple of tenths there managed to fend off Theo Mercurius for the victory. Shane Stoney was third after another lively race. Fourth position then within that class for the 82 of Christian Brooks, and the top 5 completed by James Ockenden. Then it was the number 95 in behind of Oscar Joyce, followed by the number 8 of John Davis, and the top 20 completed by Jack Leese. Then it was Gaunt, Nutton, then the other Gaunt, Bradley Gaunt in 23rd, ahead of Williams, then Dan Nutton in 25th. Then it was Lowe with Rishover and Thompson, both retiring in the early stages. So exciting stuff from the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. Their third and final race will be our final live stream race of the weekend here from Donington Park. 5:15, we're expecting to get the Radicals back out on circuit. So join us then for what hopefully will be an exciting final round of the season.